Hello friends, we'll be discussing the concept of the capitalist economy now. Now, as we understand that we have three different kinds of economy to be discussed, the economy which is related to the capitalist first, the socio-economy and the mixed economy here. So the first thing that we'll be dealing with right now is the capitalist economy. Let's understand few points on it first, post which we'll understand the features, the merits and demerits of it. Now, a capitalist economic system is one which is characterized by free markets and the absence of government intervention in the economy. So if in any economy, if you figure out that there is a free market and there is no government intervention in between, that economy can be considered as a capitalist economy. In practice, a capitalist economy will need some government intervention primarily to protect the private property. In practice, or rather in practical approach, a little bit government intervention is required just to protect the private property of those economists here. In real world, many economies are, or rather which are viewed to have a capitalist economy, may have government spending taking up 35% of GDP. That means in real world, if this kind of economy persists or rather prevails, then it makes the government spend up to 35% of the gross domestic product, or rather gross domestic produce here, which is 35% of it which will be utilized in spending of protecting this kind of economy here. Now, this is because the government pays for welfare, health, education, national defense, and however, the economy is still viewed as capitalist because in these areas of private enterprises, firms are free to decide what to produce and for whom. For example, in India, we can call it as Reliance. Reliance Industries has gone ahead and manufactured, or rather brought up the concept of metro stations out here. Now, the reason why this has been brought up, because first of all, this is privatization of all the services and government has little less intervention in it. Although the whole stake of this metro line refers to or belongs to Reliance Industries itself, but government still has a little bit stake and intervention in it just to make sure that the private economy is saved and perfectly managed here. Now, capitalist economic systems invariably leads to inequalities of wealth and income. That is one default that we can talk about of capitalist economy, because if you just take the example of Reliance Industries right now, whatever income is earned here straight away goes to Reliance Industries or straight away goes to Reliance group of companies. The reason being they are the sole and whole trader of this specific metro system that they've got up with. So there are certain inequalities of wealth and income that the economy has to go through when they're dealing with this kind of capital economy in the first place. However, it is argued that this inequality provides an incentive for wealth generation and economic growth. However, it can be also mentioned that whatever wealth they are generating right now, the government takes away the wealth, or rather 30% of the wealth, in terms of the taxes that are levied on these kind of services, or rather these kind of group of companies that we have in existence right now. The next point also mentions that a capitalist economic system is often contrasted to a socialist or a communist economic system where economic decisions are made centrally by government agencies. Capitalist economy can be also called as an economy which is moving apart, or rather a little different from the other two economies that we have, which can be the reason, or rather the reason behind this is because in all these other economies that we have apart from the capitalist one, a government has a lot of intervention in it and a government goes ahead and manages those other two economies that we'll be discussing about, but not the capitalist one. Hence, there is a lot of difference that we can think of here. Now, what are the features of capitalist economy? What are the basic features that we'll have to understand? There are a lot of basic features that we can figure out here. Let's start with the first one. Capitalism derives its name from the fact in this system, means of production are not owned by the government or by cooperatives. Capitalism basically is that you individually have a strong hold on it. You have a specification, or rather, if we can say, you have a strong grip on it and you're the sole owner of it. We can certainly call it as a monopoly market, but not completely related to it, but a little bit different, or rather some features of monopoly market are completely reflected in capitalist economy. The reason being, there is no government intervention and you have the right to decide what to produce and for whom to produce. What is the target market that you want, you can set it, and what exactly you want to offer that target market is something that you can derive here. That is the first feature of it. They are owned privately, and that is by individual and households. So these are private owned owners, or rather these economies or these companies are privately owned, and they have no government intervention, which we are repeating since a lot of time. Business units, and therefore the resources owned by them, also belong to individual and households. The institution of private property also covers the right to inheritance, and this institution, or rather the institution of property and inheritance, have two strong implications. So they have private property of their own, they understand one thing, they have their own implications, they have their own rules. So basically we have an old idiom that is mentioned here: whatever property that has been mentioned, or rather whatever economy that we are dealing with, this is privately owned economy right now, and whatever rules, regulations, conventions have to be made, it will be strictly according to the rules of that specific individual, that specific company. This is one of the basic and most important features that we have discussed right now. The next feature is people acquire a motive for earning more because they can keep their earning both for current and future use. There's one more important motive that they have figured out while making these two things possible. The reason why is the first part, that you can go ahead and make the earnings as per your demand. So if you want to earn more, you can absolutely go ahead and do that, because everything is governed by you, everything is managed by you, whole income goes to you. So whatever charge you keep is something that will consist and that will prevail no matter what the services you're providing. If the target market has already acquired that thing, if the target market is already used to it, then definitely you will have to pay that much of money, and you as an income, or rather you as a business, will keep on earning here, because there are certain features of monopoly that we have discussed here. For this reason, they are always on the lookout for some opportunities of increasing their income. So basically, because of this earning opportunity that they have, they always constantly look after certain opportunities where they can earn more and more of money with less time and less investment. In the process, if need be, they are also ready to work hard. That is one of the major important part of a capitalist economy. The net result is that capitalist system is characterized by a high production potential. So basically, capitalist economy has a very high production potential, because at some times they also go ahead and work smart, but apart from that, if they have to work really hard, they can do that and they will do that, and that leads to a lot of potential growth opportunities that any economy can look into. Now, the third one refers to private property and inheritance lead to ever increasing inequalities of income and wealth. As we have discussed, that there is a biased decision that can be taken here, because all the inheritance goes to one private owner itself. So whatever property they have earned, so today if Reliance Industries is supposed to be taken over by their kids, they have a lot of property to deal with, and absolutely that is going to be shared between both these two kids itself. No other person is going to be a part of that property owner. So that's an inequality of income, or rather we can talk about a major chunk of income is divided between two people as compared to a lot of other people that are working for that specific company here. So that's the income inequality that we're talking about here. These inequalities in turn result in unequal opportunities of earning and income. So of course, if you're working for Reliance Industry, you can know that you are restricted to a specific salary itself. The amount of profit Mr. Ambani would be earning right now isn't equivalent to the salary a person would be earning if they're working for Reliance Industries. Why? Is because the opportunities at a higher level are different as compared to the opportunities at a working management level. The market prices of various goods and services fail to correspond the relative worth of the society. So for them, or rather for Ambanis, the market value is of no use because they determine it. However, for a common man, that market value will be a lot of difference, or rather will make a lot of difference in their income earning capacity and the income spending capacity as well. So purchasing power and the spending power has a lot of effect on a common man as compared to the person who has a lot of opportunities to generate wealth and has been doing it since a long time. Therefore, a cumulative process develops in which the owner of the capital can add to their income faster than the workers and can add to their incomes, since they must depend upon the income from their labors only. So basically, a worker who is working with any kind of company has to depend on the income that is derived from the labor work itself. And apart from that, if he's working somewhere else, then that can be added to the income, but it won't be much as compared to the time and the energy that is invested in earning the first income itself. Now, capitalism is also characterized by what is known as policy of laissez-faire on the part of the authorities. The term laissez-faire means absence of state intervention in the economy. Capitalism, as we know that there is no government intervention, hence no state intervenes in the working of these companies, or rather in the working of these functionalities here. The solution of the basic problem of the economy is left in the hands of market mechanism. So if these kind of companies are going ahead and procuring maximum of the market capital here, all the marketing techniques will be left by these companies itself, will be switched over to these companies itself. So this is one of the major important thing that you need to think of. In other words, the authorities do not try to regulate the prices, demand, or supply. So, people who are in charge of investigating things, people who are at the government level, will not be able to go ahead and make authorities, or rather make a grip on the prices, demand and supply of these products, these services, because they are privately owned, and the privately owned institutions have no right, or rather they involve no other people apart from their people itself. So no government intervention is there, no state intervention is there, hence there is no influence that can be done by the government in these companies here. The market mechanism, through the interaction between demand and supply force, brings about all the changes in the prices. The prices in turn acts as a signal for individual economic unit and guide them in the respective activities as consumers and producers, etc. So whatever price derivation is done here, that is done as per the basis and the requirements of that capitalist economy itself. So they drive the demand and the supply, and that helps in earning a lot of income here. This is one of the major important features that you can discuss whenever you have to discuss about the capitalist economy and how it is driven by an individual or by a group of individuals here. In theory, it is usually assumed that the market structure of the capitalist economy is competitive in nature. That's only in theory where you understand that it is termed as competitive, however, it is not. In practice, however, it need not be so. It is possible that while the authorities are following a policy of laissez-faire, the market itself is not competitive enough. Even though if there is no government intervention here, there is no scope of competition because they have the features of monopoly here. Hence, they are the sole dictator in this specific field. It may have strong monopoly elements. It may be what we call a monopolistic competition. Exactly. As we discussed, monopolistic competition can be a feature of this kind of economy, or there may be forms of technical or institutional hurdles in a way of competition. Now, another salient feature of this capitalism is the use of money and credit. Now, the next feature that we can discuss about is the use of money and the credit. Whatever credit they have and whatever money they have, how exactly it is utilized for the benefit of their own company, and rather bringing up the company to the highest peak level that they can ever think of. This is so because capitalist system by its very nature tends to become quite complex with a large variety of goods and services and occupations. Now, a capitalist economy doesn't have just one thing to offer. Reliance doesn't just offer metro things. It offers, or rather it is into different categories, different sectors. It is into telecom, it is into petrochem, it is into power, it is into energy, it is into providing services, and it is into providing constructions of roads and bridges as well. Now, considering all these variety of products that are provided, these are just the basic products that I've told you about. Within that, you have different powers, or rather different products that can be discussed further, but we need not go into that depth. We just have to explain with these variety of products, if they have, there is a lot of complex nature of transactions that will be happening day in day out. To handle that thing, they need to have a solitude mind, or rather a complete mind, which can go ahead and figure out how exactly things have to be worked out here. The producers undertake production mainly for sale in the market and not for self consumption. Similarly, a capitalist economy tend to have production projects which have a long technical life. Now, capitalist economy, they take these production products which have a long technical life. The reason being, just for an example, right now in Bombay, if you see the ceiling that has been done, the ceiling took a lot of time, but after the completion of that project, if we can see by the entrance of that project, or rather by the entrance of any toll plaza, you understand there are certain things, the cost of that project, how much time that project is going to take completely to be written off, or rather redundant here. Then in such situations, you understand how much money that they are collecting from you and where this money is going right now. So for example, if creating a ceiling, or rather creating any kind of bridge, takes around crores of rupees, that crores of rupees is taken as a fee from the public, or from the consumption that is done by the consumers, end users basically, and then they go ahead and figure out how exactly things have to be worked out here. All these aspects of capitalism necessitate an elaborate system of financing its economic activities, and therefore the use of money and credit. So because of all these things, we understand how exactly things are supposed to be done, or how exactly a capitalist economy works here. Now, in capitalism, all economic activities are guided by market force. Producers produce only those goods and services which are demanded by consumer in the market. Only the demanded goods are supposed to be produced. The rest is not supposed to be produced, because that will add up to the additional cost, and it won't be sold out because you don't have a target market there. The entire economy operates to meet the needs and the preferences of the consumers. So under this economy, the whole economy works to meet the needs of the consumer and the preferences of these consumers. So if you demand for something which is required, majority of these people will be demanding, then they go ahead and produce that same thing, and then they cater those needs. This characteristic of capitalism is known as that of consumer sovereignty. So, consumer sovereignty is one of the important part where you understand how exactly things have to be sorted here. Now, there are certain merits that we'll be looking after. The first one is capitalist system is self-regulatory. It is self-regulatory. That means it works on its own. It doesn't need any intervention in between. Things will go as per the system that is supposed to be placed, or rather that is placed, and it is supposed to be function in the way it is supposed to do. The next will be the process of economic growth is faster under capitalism. It tends to register a huge rate of growth in the national income and per capita income. So the rate of growth is very fast. You can just summarize it like that. The capitalist system decides what to produce and how to produce. One of the most important thing, क्या produce करना है and किसके लिए produce करना है, this important thing is decided in the capitalist system itself. None other system can go ahead and decide this part, because you are the sole and whole owner of that specific company. So you decide your target market, and you decide what things are supposed to be produced and how exactly they're supposed to be produced here. Capitalist system provides an incentive for efficient decision making and their implementation in the form of economic gains to the decision makers, which ensures high degree of operative efficiency in the system. It provides flexibility to adapt the changed circumstances. Now, it provides a flexibility to provide the changed circumstances, and it provides incentives for efficient decision making. So whatever decisions are being taken here, if they're efficient and they reduce the cost of the operations executive, or rather operation management, then it is a boon, because lower the operation cost, lower the production cost, higher the profit margin that can be extended to. That's the simple funda of capitalist economy, and that's how they earn huge profits over this. Now, it ensures individual freedom is given, or rather, individual freedom giving entrepreneurs incentive work hard. So they ensure that all these people who are working beyond their capacities to make sure that the company reaches its goal, or rather achieves the target, they provide them with incentives for the hard work that has been done here and for the efforts that has been taken to make the company reach the goal which has been decided, or rather which was targeted. Capitalism ensures optimal allocation of resources in different uses. Capitalism economy ensures that optimum resources are utilized here and that things are met as per the requirements of the target. Now, there are certain demerits. Capitalism generates inequalities of income and wealth. We have already discussed this, that how biased the situation is here. Wide differences in economic opportunities. Again, this thing has been discussed. The reason being the example that we gave. Mr. Ambani would have a lot of opportunities to earn crores of rupees, millions of rupees here, rather, in fact, as compared to the employee who's working for Mr. Ambani, or rather who's working for Reliance Industries. He has very restricted growth opportunities available there. Distortion in the production pattern. This is one of the important thing where there is production pattern. The production pattern keeps on changing because the demands that has to be catered to these many people keeps on changing at every moment. So you need to have a different production pattern, or you need to have a flexible production pattern basically. Next one is capitalism wastes its productive resources. As you know that one thing can lead into different aspects, one thing can give you different outputs, but if you're focusing only one single output out of it, rest every other thing which could have been done, emphasizing on the word which could have been done, is wasted completely because you cater only one target area. Your all efforts are going into one target area itself. Hence, there is no layer, or rather, there is no way whereby there are multiple areas that will be covered using the same resource itself. Hence, there's a lot of wastage. Production on merit goods is not profitable. So production of merit goods, that means which are catered by the company and as per the basis of the requirement, cannot reap you that much of profit. So you need to select your product very well. You need to have a lot of R&D on it. Only after that you can select the target area and you can select the target market, which will define what kind of product is required as per the current requirement. Business unit produce only those goods and services which are profitable. Absolutely correct. Business will only deal with such things which can give them profit. If not profit, they won't put their hand in it. Loss of human values and welfare. Capitalism, as they know that they're working only for profit, there is loss of human values here and loss of human welfare as well. Increase the wastages of resources as a result of competition. There are a lot of resources that are wasted here, the reason as we have already discussed, and that is also because of the competition, because there is a cut edge competition, or rather there is, you need to be absolutely on the edge, or you need to stand apart from the competitive features that are already available in the market. For example, if you want to launch a new phone, you need to absolutely think about what new can you offer to the people before you can think or expect that this phone will boom the market and will give you a lot of sales here. That can happen only if you have a cutting edge technology, only if you have something which is not available right now in the market with any other phone. That is only when you will have some hold or some grip on the market and you will be able to make a name for yourself. That's when it happens. So with all these details, we have understood this is how the capitalist economy works. We have understood the features of it, we have understood the merits and demerits of it. So this is all that we had to discuss about the capitalist economy. Thank you.